You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now. In 1996, there were no YouTube compilations. There was no Y-Scout, Transfermarkt, or even much of an internet, meaning that the conditions were ripe for one of the greatest deceptions the Premier League has ever known. This is the story of its worst ever player. It was the 1996-97 season, and Southampton were waging their annual battle against relegation. They were under the new management of Graeme Souness, and after an awful start, with the team taking just 2 points from 7 league games, they'd enjoyed an unlikely late autumn bounce, winning 3 of 5 games to shoot up the table. Reality was just around the corner though. Souness' side would take a 7-1 thumping at Goodison Park to Everton before, in a match against Leeds the following week, they'd create an anecdote for the ages and make themselves a punchline. Enter Ali Dia. Now, in the 1990s, there was no name more respected than AC Milan's George Weah. Today, Weah is the president of Liberia. But in 1996, he was the reigning European and World Player of the Year, and had the game at his feet. What he didn't have, however, was a cousin playing non-league for Blythe Spartans. Now, this story is fairly well known. A man claiming to be Weah phoned Souness, recommending that he sign his cousin, the unknown Dia. What's less understood, though, are the circumstances that led to him actually playing in the Premier League, or how many other clubs might have fallen victim of his hoax. Dia actually had a trial at Coventry City, but he was let go quickly after a less than impressive showing in training. He also played in a friendly for Port Vale and was given a trial by Gillingham. He didn't impress then-manager Tony Pulis, though, who released him because he was quote-unquote rubbish. Harry Redknapp also received calls about him when he was managing West Ham, but smelt the deception and declined the offer. Souness' Southampton, meanwhile, were either considerably more naive or much more desperate. They had 2 available forwards at the time, Matt Le Tissier and Eagle Oestenstad, and Dia, who the mysterious George Weah had claimed to play with him at former club Paris Saint-Germain, and also for Serie A side Bologna, was given a month-long contract. Reports in the British media also claimed that he had played and scored for the Senegalese national side. Now, none of that was actually true, and yet he signed a contract worth several £1,000s at the Dell, and within a week, he would make a matchday squad. Not that the Southampton players were blind. Those who trained with Dia observed that he wasn't too bad in small-sided games, but stood out badly during other drills. Some interviewed in the years after admitted to thinking genuinely that he'd won a competition to train with them. And Dia would have a big stroke of luck. He was scheduled to take part in a reserve game in the midweek ahead of the Leeds United match, and had the game gone ahead and his clumsy touch been exposed, that would surely have been the end of the road. As it was, the match was postponed because of bad weather, and after just 1 training session, he found himself in the Southampton first-team squad for the weekend. And he would come on. Dia's talent may not have been real, but Southampton's striker shortage very much was. And so when Matt Le Tissier pulled his groin, Souness was left with little choice but to send on his new number 33, who had not played for PSG, Bologna, the Senegalese national team, or any other team of professional note. Dia would actually have a shot on goal, which was saved at the near post by former England goalkeeper Nigel Martin. But his performance was shambolic, and that he didn't belong was clear. To some, it seemed like he was doing whatever he could to avoid the ball, running to wherever it wasn't, and on 85 minutes, having spent just 53 on the pitch, he suffered the ignominy of becoming a substitute who was substituted, being replaced by defender Ken Monku. Leeds, leading 1-0 at half-time, would score a second to make the game safe, and Souness was left explaining Dia's performance to the media after the game. It just goes to show the state of things at the club at the moment, that a player I've never ever seen, let alone watched playing in a game, was able to play in the Premiership, he reflected. Very true. And by the time the hoax was exposed by British tabloid The Daily Mirror later in the month, Dia was long gone. In fact, Le Tissier doesn't recall seeing him again after the Leeds game. The mood was pretty sombre in the dressing room afterwards, and so we didn't really discuss him then, he told The Guardian. Apparently he came in for treatment on the Sunday morning, according to the physio. He was told to report again on Monday, and he just did a runner. Dia's dalliance with football wasn't quite done though. He would sign for non-league Gateshead in the northeast of England, even scoring a couple of goals and earning a few £100s a week. Supporters who seemed to be in on the joke even serenaded him with his own chant. Ali Dia is a liar, they sang for the 8 games that he lasted. But what came next is more of a mystery. 442 magazine managed to very briefly contact him some years ago, and also found out that he graduated from Northumbria University with a degree in business studies in 2001. But Dia himself was reluctant to speak, and none of the organisation who had come into contact with him, either inside the game or out, were able to provide any details. So nobody really knows what happened to Ali Dia, but nobody will ever forget his name either.
Tifo merch, coming to find what you're looking for. Tifo merch, put it on your body and drink out of it. From the grasslands of Australia to the peaks and plains of Antarctica and through the rivers of North America comes a shop of merch that is so damn cool that it's really cool. So cool you have to buy all the merchandise. Buy the merchandise. Come in and buy all our merchandise. Merchandise. Looky right here, there's merchandise. Put your merchandise. Gotta get your hands on the merchandise. Merchandise. Buy the merch.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is where the Manchester United reporters revealed the truth behind the club's Jadon Sancho transfer fiasco, where the Tottenham reporters brought you news of Gareth Bale's return before anyone else, where the Chelsea reporters told us 3 days before his sacking that Frank Lampard was on the verge of losing his job. And you can try it now for free for 30 days. See the link in the description.